be with us this evening. Before we get to our guests, could I have a motion for the approval of the February minutes?
I would certainly make that motion.
And I think I'll second it.
Awesome.
So all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Dana, do we have any old business that you can think of?
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay. Dr. Roche, is there anything you need to add?
Nope, we're good.
Mrs. Castle, anything besides your ceiling tile? Okay.
We're good.
All right. Well, we're going to get to the
Look at
important part of the meeting this evening, and that's conversations with our guests this evening. And in case our guests aren't aware, we kind of restarted the extracurricular committee. Mr. Hipser and I did. And Mr. Hipser and I are Upper Perk alums, and we go way back. We go back to the days of Anne Raymond when she was the drama director. See, Pam, you recognize that name.
The middle school now 4-5 Center Auditorium is named for her. There's a plaque outside.
Yep, there sure is. So, so Dana and I go way back, but we're so delighted to have all of you here, and especially the students. Anytime we can have students join us, that's just a bonus for us. So ladies, thank you for joining us. I'm going to go by the order of the agenda, if you don't mind. So we'll move through this. And as you talk about your group, could you just tell us a little bit about yourselves before you get into your presentation or conversation, so we can get to know you a little bit better? And we'll start with Speech and Debate Club and Mrs. Traub. So take it away and welcome.
Thank you. Do I have permission to, I have a PowerPoint. May I share that?
Good.
Yep. Sure can.
I didn't realize that I was supposed to invite students, so
that's optional, but next time you visit with us, feel free to bring everybody along.
Okay.
Hopefully the next time you visit with us, we're going to be in person, so then we could really have some fun.
Yes. And I did gather some input, and I gained permission for pictures, but I didn't realize that they could come to the Zoom, so I apologize for that.
No problem.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I am one of the counselors at the high school. So that's my full-time role, but I also have served as both the co-advisor and now the sole advisor of the speech and debate team at the high school. I believe it was, I mean, in terms of the history, there used to be a United Nations team, and I believe they had some form of a debate team years back. And then we, Mr. Covello, who's an English teacher, Mike Covello and I had brought it back, I believe 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So this has been an interesting year for everyone, with everything being online. Everything that the students had ever practiced was in person. So presenting and using all sorts of new vehicles has been fun. So we are, a lot of times people have not known that it's also can be known as forensics, and that's not the science class, but it also can be known as the forensics club, and we've competed in various competitions. This year has looked entirely different, but there are, and actually Tia, who's on this call, has come to meetings and joined the club as well. There's a lot of a lot of opportunity for students on a normal year to travel and meet students, and regardless of the pandemic or not, they have the chance to compete and network among some extremely brilliant and wonderful teenagers. So we are members of FISL, which is Pennsylvania High School Speech League, and also NSDA. So thankfully, with those paid memberships, we are able to gain access to a lot of resources as well as mentorships. Normally, I would introduce our officers, who are, the three of them are seniors, but Sierra and Sydney did contribute some information for tonight's presentation. And the idea that I mentioned to the students is, you know, it can be mentally exhilarating, but also mentally grueling. It's an extremely long day when we're at a competition. It can be as much as 12 hours, and then throw in there a commute back and forth to wherever we are traveling to. But it has allowed the students to really leave their comfort zone for a day and learn something new, and also do some research on topics that they may have not been exposed to in the past. The 4 events that our students have entered in the last 5 years are here. Now, there are events that we haven't even practiced, or students that haven't necessarily gone to other territory. There's a lot of overlap with the other club that's presenting tonight. I find that there's a lot of overlap in our small district. There's students that are interested in the idea of presentation and public speaking, and also broadcasting is part of our club as well. We haven't had any students do that event, but I have asked Mr. Thomas, Dave Thomas, if we could also have some students join some of those competitions. In the previous slide, there's a lot of YouTube out there now, right? So the students are able to really gain a lot of access. And even since the pandemic, students have been able to film themselves, and we haven't even seen some of the events in the past, and now we're able to watch the events before we go. So on December 12th, these are the 4 main events that we would have or hope to participate this year. December 12th was a day-long virtual tournament. It was hosted by LaSalle College High School down on the main line. And January 16th, we had hoped to be part of that, but E.L. Myers, which is in the Wilkes-Barre area, wasn't ready to host that virtually. So we weren't able to participate. The evening of March 10th, most recently, we were invited by the Upper Perk Rotary, and I think we've done that for the last 4 years. And all of our students that participated took away some cash prizes, which was really nice. And they also had some great practice with speaking to other members of our community. And then our first place student will go forward in the regional level of the competition, and she'll be competing. We're still waiting for the details on that, but that will be on April 17th. And then lastly, I have some students that are entering the debate tournament on April 24th, and that is sponsored by Southern Lehigh High School, and that will also be virtual. The idea of research and properly doing research is normally not new to the high school students, but the idea of doing research on a weekend or for fun, that part is you know, not typical, I'll say. So it is a very strong commitment. These are just, you know, some of the things that our students are using, but thankfully through our paid memberships, we do have access to a whole host of other resources, as well as all the free resources that we have in the district. And so we ask our students, typically we would have them pay a membership fee. We haven't asked them to do that this year because of COVID, but normally that would cover the expenses of our travel and also our membership fees. And we have to pay to participate in any of the tournaments. We will be doing a fundraising event at Rita's in May. We usually wait until it's warmer to do that. And so that will be scheduled, and you may see us on Main Street if you're coming through that area. We use Remind, so I text out reminders to the students. the Twitter information is old. I don't have a current member that is using that, but we of course use UPTV and you know, a whole lot of email as well. Some comments from some senior members. You can read those there. But Sierra and Sydney, I'm gonna miss them dearly. They both have blossomed so beautifully. When they were in 9th grade, they both had honors English with Mike Covello when he was co-advising with myself. And I remember, I mean, Sydney, I was like, is this girl ever gonna talk? She didn't say a word from every single meeting. And I'm like, well, that's really interesting that she wants to be a member of Speech and Debate. We've never heard her say a thing. And she was a very, she speaks with purpose, and she very eloquently, and we did a lot of practice, and she's come such a long way. And she would describe herself as a more timid personality, but she's really come out of her shell, and it's been such a beautiful thing to see all of our intelligent minds get together, and it really builds their confidence, and they've been able to meet some other students along the way from these other schools that we compete against. And here are some pictures, both virtual and in person. So this is when the top left was when Rotary was in person back in the good old days. That was at the Spinnerstown Hotel Restaurant. And down on the bottom right is at LaSalle College High School when we went in person. Bottom left is the now virtual format. But I will say that the students have adapted beautifully. You know, once we had our usernames and passwords and our accounts were up and running, they've all adapted really, really very well. And it's been a lot of fun to still interact even from our, you know, bedrooms or living rooms or wherever they might be. But we've gained a lot of access to some other, you know, some other vehicles, and we've continued to network despite not being able to be together. And lastly, our topics are, a lot of people mistakenly think that we choose our own topics. And it's true when a student is writing a speech that they write a speech about a topic that they're passionate or that knowledgeable about. However, when we're debating, the students are, when I mentioned research before, those topics are given to them. They are monthly topics. And so a lot of people don't realize that they get the topic at the top of the month, and then they have to use that. So when we research, when we compete on April 24th, they've just gotten the topic on March 1st. So they really have to do a lot of research, and in addition to all of the rigorous courses that they're already taking at the high school, in addition to their part-time jobs, all of our students, most of them, you know, they're in multiple clubs, and so it's a big time commitment, but the benefits definitely outweigh, you know, the time that they put in. The rewards are many. And we also were part of a virtual coffee house event on October 23rd. I forgot to mention that, but that was a dual event where we combined with the Writers Club under the guidance of Mrs. Staddle. And so the students were part of that as well to get some extra practice in this virtual world. And that is everything.
Fantastic. Would you mind fielding a few questions?
Oh, absolutely. I expected questions.
Dana, do you have any questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Was that one slide, what do you have? How many kids are in the club? Like 14 or 15, or was
We
that the
have,
whole group?
Yeah, I don't think I had the number on there, but thank you for the question. We have 15 students actively involved. I would say on average 10 come to the meetings. Having meetings has been a bit of an obstacle this year, but mainly because, so So I had thought that Wednesdays would be the perfect time to have a meeting, right? Well, on Wednesdays, our students have decided, our older students have picked up jobs and all the clubs are meeting on a Wednesday. So that became a bit of a challenge that I wasn't aware of. And so we've been flexible with that, and we've landed 2:30 on Wednesdays is when we've been meeting. So on average, I think I have, 10 at the meeting out of the 15, because there usually are some conflicts, unfortunately.
Is that weekly or monthly or?
That is bi-weekly. However, when we're leading up to a tournament, we do meet weekly, and sometimes even more than weekly, because as the students are getting ready for a competition, which will be April 24th. So right now I'm practicing with the students individually. We have Allison Miani, who's moving on to the regional speech contest, and I'll practice with her a bunch of times individually. And then I'll also practice with the students who are competing in the debate tournament on April 24th. So I guess you could say it's not, on a typical basis, it's bi-weekly, but sometimes it has to be more than that because we're leading up to a tournament.
Terrific. If you had to guess about the commitment of a student, how many hours, say, per week or per month? I guess it has to vary, but.
Yeah. So on a Saturday, on the actual event itself, it's a strong 12-hour day, and it can be mentally exhilarating, but also mentally exhausting. And I'm a parent of wrestlers, so I thought wrestling was, the longest day ever until I became the speech and debate advisor, and then I realized, wrestling, gymnastics, swimming, those are all really, really long days. But speech and debate, definitely. I mean, these kids, they do, it's a hurry up and wait kind of scenario where we have to hurry up and get there, hurry up and register, then they wait. And, they debate 4 times a day at every tournament. They debate against, you're talking about a pair of students that have to have really good chemistry and themselves, and they have to trust each other that they have really done good research. And then there's a first speaker and a second speaker, and they go up against other randomly sorted pairs from other schools across the state and also the tri-state area on a typical basis. So that could be a 12-hour day for that pair of students, but all of the research that they're doing leading up to that event, I probably can't quantify because, I have some students that started there's a pair of students that are competing in April. They started at the beginning of this month when they got the topic, and they could be pulling all-nighters. I choose not to, I don't always know. Because of Google Drive, they're able to collaborate very well. And sometimes they tell me about the all-nighter that they pulled, but I'm hoping that they're, I check in with them and I read what they've written, and I review, and then we practice. But I would say, 12 hours on the event itself, and probably add another at least 10, and that's just for one event. So it is a huge time commitment, and not everybody always recognizes that or realizes that.
So I guess I should not be getting all my information from Wikipedia anymore.
Yeah, the students are so bright and show so much promise, and I tell them all the time, there's great scholarships that are out there. But they also have to be able to research both sides of the argument because they don't know which side they're going to get. So there's a coin toss at the tournament, and they have to be prepared with pro and con. And so, sometimes all the times as human beings, we have an opinion about whatever the topic might be. And yet the students have to be prepared to research and present both sides.
Fantastic. Peg, are you going to get into some personal details?
No, I just find this all fascinating. I mean, And Dana, did we have speech and debate when we were in school? I don't think we had a club.
If we had it, I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
What a fantastic
Yeah,
idea.
I just find it so fascinating because I deal a lot with law in my spare time with what I do with athletic administration. But I guess I'm curious to know, how do you recruit kids to speech and debate? Like, are they just like attracted to the
Hmm.
the club, or is there a certain kind of kid you look for? Like,
And I am going to plug in because I just realized my computer's dying. Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll tell you that this Alicia and I are probably trying to recruit the same kids, oftentimes, and so that has been a bit of a challenge because of the time commitment that it takes. I do remember that there were some students in the past that were, very valuable members of the musical, but they can't free up a Saturday. And then I have a member right now who is a wrestler, and he also can't free up a Saturday. So he comes to meetings and he's very interested, but he also, is not going to. I certainly wouldn't expect him to quit his sport that he's been, participating. So it is a bit of a challenge. I'm not going to lie. It's a bit of a challenge in our small district. The students who stay with it and are passionate about it, and once it's interesting. It's a special personality because I find sometimes I'm afraid that it's going to scare them away when they go to a tournament. And instead, I mean, the 4 that competed in December, they were so excited. They were like, when's the next one? I mean, it's almost like this mental adrenaline rush that this special type of student gets. And it is a competition. I mean, it is at some of the schools that we compete against. These children have been doing it since they were literally children in 6th grade. And by the time they're a high schooler, they've already gotten 3 years of competition under their belt. And they're fully, they're hungry to debate. They're hungry to do research. And it's this special breed of student. But there are tremendous scholarships that are available. And I find that the students who go to the tournament, I've never had an issue with keeping them on. They all want more, but it's a matter of trying to get that type of student. We're sometimes spread thin with our student population, or if they need to work and they can't take off that Saturday, that's been a bit of an obstacle for us. But in terms of recruiting, as a counselor, I only have a third of the alphabet, but anytime I have a student who wants to be an English teacher or a lawyer, or just sometimes I have parents who email me and say, my son is constantly arguing with me. Is there something we can do with that? So there's definitely a lot more students that I wish could get a taste of it or be involved, but unfortunately time has been our obstacle.
Sure. And so are there grades 9 through 12 students on that's awesome.
Yes, but there's a lot of things that are out of our control in terms of how they split the students. So I have a pair of students that, again, not only do they have to be confident with their own skills, but then they have to find a partner, at least in that event, which is called public forum. In the public forum topics, they have to find a partner that they trust and is going to do good research with them. And they split them by age. So 11th grade becomes JV or varsity. And so if I have a 10th grader who can be what's called novice, when they split them by age, but again, they weren't scared away. They debated 4 times against kids who had a ton of more experience, but they were respectful. And sometimes in our society, our students are not seeing that. And I think that that's probably the most important thing that they need to see, is that it's okay to agree to disagree. And we may have a difference of opinion, and we may have a different background, or a different experience, or whatever the case may be. But what the students are seeing is healthy, respectful debate, and they have a mutual respect for the intelligence and the hard work that they know their opponents have put in.
That's awesome. That just,
So I look at it as life lessons, but sometimes it's not an easy sell.
that is so awesome. You talk to the chemistry of the partnership with one another, and that's such a huge thing. The competition that the Rotary sponsors, when we get back to normal times, hopefully soon, is that something that the general public can come and watch?
No, or at least not that I'm aware of. I mean, Darlene Scott and Sarah Toback are the two that run that event. I'm not aware of it being open to the public. It's usually it usually includes a nice dinner. So that's what the kids were missing this year. However, I will also say that as a counselor, I speak about, soft skills with kids and life lessons, but not everyone always agrees. But I think it's important for the kids to learn how do we mingle in a dinner situation. And sometimes that awkwardness is really a good thing in the end. And so this year was different because everyone was on Zoom, but normally there's like this awkward dinner hour and the kids are like, who do I talk to? What do I do? And there's all of these, important people from the Upper Perk Valley, and they're coming up and they want to shake their hand. And naturally all of those things couldn't happen right now. So in the past, they've held that at either the golf course or Spinnerstown. And this year it was on Zoom. So the kids made it happen. And it all worked out, and they were probably more comfortable with Zoom than the hosts were. And it was a shorter event. We were done in, 45 minutes probably.
And the other events that you do, again, back in, when we get to normal times, like the events at Southern Lehigh or, LaSalle High School, are those events open to the public to view, or is this a private kind of thing?
So it is private. So except we have asked permission to, so parents always want to see, right? And so that's where it's almost like a secret society. I mean, if you're judging, you see it. But as new clubs, as we evolve, and like Tia joined us this year, I would have asked to take her or take other members, if I could take them along to watch. At times we're allowed to have new members watch to gain experience, but the parents don't even see their own children debate, which is very interesting because it's so different than, I'm a parent myself and I wouldn't miss anything that my kids are doing, but yet when it comes to speech and debate, they don't see it.
That's interesting.
It's a room, it's a closed room, and there's 5 people in it. It's two pairs of kids and then 1 judge.
Wow, that's very interesting. Well, at some point, again, when we get back to normal, I would love to see your coaching techniques. I can't imagine what it's like to coach speech and debate, but anyway.
Well, I continue to learn. I'm not going to lie. I don't have, it changes. Sometimes it evolves with the student, and then it changes with the topic, because there's definitely some of these topics. I'm trying to stay like 1 step ahead of the kids, but we get the topic 6 weeks, or less in advance. And sometimes it's not even a topic I'm familiar with. So I'm learning with the students, to be very honest. But in terms of the timing and in terms of the scoring ballot, I mean, those kind of things don't change, but the topics and the students change. So it's interesting.
Wow.
For sure.
That's amazing. Well, to the point of recruitment and exposure and things like that, this is one of the reasons why we brought the extracurricular committee back. So if there's anything we can do to help you, both recruiting kids or in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So that's
Thank
why
you.
we're here. Yep. Well, thank you very much, Angela, for joining us this evening. You're welcome to hang around, or I know you probably have things to do, but thank you so much for being with us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Bet. Let's move on to drama. Love drama. I'm not quite sure the best way to do this. If Alicia and Pam, if you want to co-present, because or I don't know if you have separate presentations, whatever works for you guys. But again, I want to thank the students for being here. Tia and Emily, thank you so much for joining us, and we'd love to hear from you as well. So drama, take it away.
Do you want us to start, or do you want to go?
Why don't you go, and then the kids can go do their stuff.
Okay. Can I have screen sharing permission? Is that available?
Coming up.
Should be able to share.
Wonderful. Okay, so I am Alicia Austin. I was hired in the district. This is my 13th year, and Dr. Kirby in my interview specifically asked if I would help out with the musical because the program was restarting again after a little bit of a hiatus, and I actually have my undergraduate degree in theater from DeSales. So this is our cast productions. I couldn't find all of them, but this kind of gives you a general idea of our cast size that we have every year. When we started, it was kind of pulling teeth to get kids involved because they didn't know what it was going to be like. I think we had 3 gentlemen who we coerced into joining, and we got to see them blossom and grow up. And now our company currently has 10 male members in it, which is pretty significant for a very small rural high school to be doing musicals. And that doesn't include the freshmen who will be coming in next year. So you can see on this slide, it is the roster of all the shows that I have done here. Last year was the Addams Family, and we did get to do our Gold Card show, which is the show that happens on Wednesday afternoon for our senior citizens. And then we got in one show on Thursday before Governor Wolf came and shut us down. So we were hopeful. We kept the setup. In the summertime, we came and sobbed as we were taking it all down and putting it in the basement. But we've done a myriad of different shows. And what's really nice about theater is the fact that it speaks to all different types of students. And one great thing about our club, which the girls are going to talk about a little bit more, is the inclusivity of our group. Especially last year, there was a community service student who wanted to do environmental community service with Mr. Graham. He said, why don't you ask Mr. Austin? I had happened to have the student in AP, and I said, hey, do you want to design some set pieces? And he ended up designing several of our set pieces for last year's show. He's now at Villanova, and it's that idea that there are kids that maybe they don't think theater and being on the stage is for them, but theater is an all-encompassing activity because it relies on marketing and sales and math and science and engineering and design. One of our designers for Cinderella is currently at Pitt, and she decided that instead of swimming, she was going to work for the plays that were there and put her name in the hat to be a production designer there. So it's one of those things that you don't really think about, but once you get involved, it becomes addictive, and working with a group of people to deadlines, timing, relying on other people, being vulnerable. So I'm gonna let the girls speak. I have Emily Noska is going to speak first. She is our vice president. So Emily, you can take it away.
So the Drama Club is currently made up of approximately 65 students. This includes actors, crew members, technicians, builders, costumers, makeup artists, and designers. Every member and their role is vital to the success of the company. The community also plays a tremendous role in the creation of our productions. Students and parents would volunteer every Saturday, January through March, for upwards of 9 or more hours to work on things such as sets and props. In the top left image, we can see 3 fathers, Randy Reinhardt, Brad Shupp, and Joshua Noska, are pictured, and they are in the car that they actually built for our production of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. In the bottom left image, we see 6 sets of siblings who are all a part of our cast or crew together. The community also helps through the purchase of tickets and coming to see the shows. With the funds and appearance of these people, our club is able to continue to create amazing productions every year. Next slide, please.
So the drama club actually has an immense impact on those involved and even those that just come to watch. It provides an outlet and a judge-free environment, and so many life lessons are learned from it. Empathy and putting yourself in someone else's shoes gives students a different look at life and allows them to grow, not only as an actor, but as a person. And taking and applying feedback is a challenge many adults face in their lives, and this gives kids an advantage before going into the real world. The lesson of teamwork and independence is very essential for a show to run. Sorry, because you have to work together and overcome things, but pulling your own weight and relying on yourself is just as important. Next. And then, as you can see, these life skills obviously apply well because we have a bunch of people in the music and theater industry. So these are a bunch of our graduates, and some of them are in college, either as a playwright or even careers in like film or politics. And so it just proves that the stigma around theater and music is wrong. You can always pursue a career in it because you will be successful.
Due to the limitations virtual learning has brought, we have come to the conclusion that it would not be a responsible decision to do a production this year. However, the students and the advisors have been working hard to continue to grow the program and plan for the future productions. So our 5 board members are listed, and these 5 students have been meeting together to discuss and plan future meetings with the entire club and fundraisers to support our next show. One idea was a haunted house as listed. Our drama club meetings this year are being used to build skill and trust. Icebreakers and team building exercises are giving us the opportunity to get to know one another so we have a stronger bond and trust in one another. We are also offering workshops such as improv, acting basics, stage management, and guest artists. And these workshops give our students the resources they need to grow as actors and crew members. Table reads give us the opportunity to go through a show without having to put on a full production. Table reads are when the entire cast sits together and reads through the script, and it involves us acting without moving to see if a show can work for our company. We have also discussed our 2022 production ideas. Some current shows we are looking into are Mamma Mia, Legally Blonde, and The Little Mermaid.
That's our presentation.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Middle school, we might as well hear you, and then we'll see if we have any questions.
Okey doke. Well, I'm Pam McGovern, and I've been working with the middle school drama with Mary Waiticha, who's also here this evening, and more recently Robin Holman, as we put a musical together last year. This is my 30th year in education. 24 of them, I believe, have been in the Upper Perkiomen School District. So I've been around for a while, and I've always enjoyed working with kids in the theater. And I know Mary has too, and she'll speak to that. But we've done so many productions with the kids, all kinds of genres. We did a Western, Wagon Wheels Are Rollin'. We did a Broadway lullaby about a bunch of orphans in New York City. We had a pirate theme and Fearsome Pirate Frank. I started out, I believe my first show was Alice in Wonderland, and Mary has done a number of musicals, including Into the Woods and Schoolhouse Rock. And last year she convinced me to do Peter Pan. So without any further ado, Mary, you want to introduce yourself, and I
Sure.
will just get this little PowerPoint up so we
Okay,
can.
you're gonna pull it up. So I'm Mary Waiticha. This is year 25 for me, 18 or 19 in Upper Perk. And like Alicia, when I was hired, I was asked by, I can't remember her name, the superintendent, Sandy, who was the superintendent there then, if I would do drama. And Michelle Folks and I took over the high school drama production for quite a few years. And then we moved down to middle school when Bunny took over the high school. And I was thrilled to see a lot of the names, and the young ladies that are with us tonight were all in our productions in the middle school. So the kids who are starting in 6th grade are continuing up and building on their skills in the high school with Alicia, which I think is awesome.
All right, so this is a little bit different because I haven't gone through the whole history. I've kind of wanted to show you an idea of what's going on now since we have the virtual club. So this is a shot of our kids from last year. We had about 60 kids involved in the Peter Pan Junior on stage and behind the stage. And they just had the best time, and I just love watching them blossom. It's just amazing. But of course, as the pandemic hit, he's like, well, what are we going to do? And we didn't want to just go dark for the whole year, as they say in the theater world. So we decided to start meeting as a club after school throughout the whole entire school year. Usually we'll do auditions in November, and our show will be the very first weekend of March usually. And so we'll rehearse in between all those times. But we wanted to go the whole year round to give the kids something to do after school and just to kind of give them an introduction to all facets of theater. So Ms. Waiticha?
So this year we decided that we would break up each week, have it more of a standalone, and the kids could come on the weeks that interested them instead of having a commitment to all year. And we decided to break up many different facets of theater, on stage and off stage, house, backstage, and break it into different weeks and advertise, this week we're doing this week we're doing this. And the kids could come on the weeks of things that interested them to learn about those things on stage and off. So we started with designing a set for a play. I'm not going to click through everything, but maybe we can put this in the link and you can go through it if you'd like to, with templates for different shows, and had them create sets. We gave them a couple different scripts with descriptions of what the set should look like, and they had to go in and create it, how they envisioned it. And then we compared, and it was interesting how different kids read the same description and interpreted it different ways.
And that's one of the students' work that she created. All righty.
Another week we looked at stage lighting. Ms. Holman found this great page where the kids could actually take the set and it would show all the different lights and how the different lights work in different places. And then we talked about what mood or what time or what feeling would you get from this set, or said, show us how you would do something dark or make it look scary or make it look happy and exciting or like a forest. And they played with the lights to create the different moods. And then we also worked on monologues, explaining what a monologue was, how to get into character with the backstory of the monologue. What would your character wear? How would they act? What movements would they have? What would their posture be? And we had them practice different monologues.
We also are trying to teach them to be critical viewers, but not critical viewers. We talked about what is criticism and how we critique things. And we watched a performance that we found on YouTube from another middle school of the play Clue. And the kids had some really good feedback. We asked them to look at this checklist, and then we discussed it, and they went into breakout rooms and discussed it with each other. So we're just trying to get them to be not only aware of what happens on stage when they're on stage, but as an observer, how can we learn from other people who are doing things on stage? And then we did a costuming exercise with the kids. Some of the kids came dressed in costume. We had some very interesting costumes, as you can well imagine, with middle school kids. But we also, what I'm finding really neat about this whole virtual idea
You in a meeting? I am.
is that we have kids who are maybe they wanted to do more of the backstage or the artistic work. And so they found outlets for doing things. And we actually had a student create this little character sketch using a graphic design app that she has. This is Catherine Shades. Her mom actually works in the office at the middle school. She's in 8th grade, and she drew them. She put a little story about each of them. So she really developed these characters as her own. These are twins, the evil twin and the good twin. So I got to get rid of this one. Excuse me a second. There we go. And what else do we have? Oh, that's you, Miss Waiticha.
So we did a lot of talk about improvisation. And just as a side note, I went to Performing Arts High School, and my father recently said to me, I'm so glad you're doing theater and you're still involved with the theater, even, you know, as you're doing it. And I said, Dad, teaching every day is improv. When the kids ask a question, how you react. I mean, improv is a life skill that can help you in so much, not just on stage and improv games. And we've tried to explain that to the kids. It helps them think on their feet. So they love doing improv games. We talked about your facial expressions, how you can tell what somebody's feeling just by looking at their face without anything coming out. About on Zoom, where you can see the close-ups of the face, unlike when you're on stage and you're 30 feet away from the audience. We had a day that we did sound effects, and they had to come up with different sound effects, and using things like tinfoil or pieces of wood or shoes to make all kinds of different sound effects, and what those sound effects could sound like, what they could stand for. 1 week, Mrs. Holman and Mrs. McGovern were at the middle school, and they gave a backstage tour of all of the lights and the screens and the pulley system and everything there. The last week, or what we're currently working on with them, is Reader's Theater, which is a form of theater where instead of being everything's memorized and you're blocking and moving around the stage, you're sitting or standing with your script, but still acting while you're reading it. And the kids seem to really like the Reader's Theater. We're going to continue with that next week.
And then because we had some connections, we were able to get some guest speakers for the kids. And we had 4 different speakers who Zoomed in. Our first one was Ray Fritz, who is a UPSD graduate. He now lives in New York. He's an actor director and the son of Janet Fritz, who's our tech assistant at the middle school. He was marvelous. He stayed with us for over an hour. The kids asked him all kinds of questions, but he told them how he started in middle school and how he was in choir and he was in the plays in high school. And they really could identify with his story. And he's done so much theater in New York. Of course, now it's dark, but he even spoke to that, like what do actors do when they're out of work and different things like that. So he was awesome and the kids loved him. And then Mrs. Waiticha, fortunately, had some good connections.
Debbie Markowitz, we actually grew up and went to elementary, middle school together. She works at the University of Hartford at the Hart Conservatory, and she runs their backstage for all of the productions. And she's actually currently creating a master's degree in backstage that she's teaching and running at the Hart School. So she came and talked to them about what does a backstage manager do? It's funny, I asked her, I said, do you have a picture of yourself like in action? She's like, no, I'm way too busy when I'm in action to do that. And we, Pam, Robin and I were afterwards were saying, we learned so much from that. The backstage manager gives the cue to turn the lights on for the sounds, for the curtains. Nothing happens unless she tells them it's allowed to.
And we thought that was all us, didn't we, Mary?
Well, actually, one of the things she told us was that when the show is directed and ready, the director's gone and done. And then the backstage manager's job is to keep the director's show exactly how the director kept it when the director's on and off and directing something else.
And then Miss Holman couldn't be with us tonight. She did get a vaccine today or yesterday and had a wanging headache, as we say. So she is kind of under the weather right now, but this was a friend of hers, Mr. John Van Kuren, who teaches at Lebanon Valley College. He's a vocal professor there, and he did some singing for the kids, and he talked to the kids about how to tell a story through song. And then he very kindly shared some videos of his students performing, and lots of questions. He fielded them all very well, and it was a really great hour we spent with him as well.
So this is a friend of mine from college, Sue Mclaughlin. And the first thing she said when we got on is, "Are we recording tonight?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh, good, because I'm going to show you all kinds of stuff I'm not allowed to show you." And she has worked on Frozen and The Lion King. She was on Lion King for over 10 years doing the world tour and Broadway, and was on Frozen's national tour when they got shut down. And her job was being in charge of the puppets. And I think that's Scar. I don't know the Lion King. Scar is considered a puppet. So she was showing us how they repair them, what her desk looks like, and how they have to have everything with them when they're on the road to be able to repair anything, fix anything, create new, and also about how they move backstage. She showed us the rock and how it's like bleachers in the auditorium, in the gym, and they just fold flat so they can move them off stage, and talked about how everything had its place backstage and its purpose, and you didn't touch anything that wasn't yours. And, you know, everyone had an exact place to stand, because otherwise you would get run over as sets moved. And what I thought was also interesting was that they actually go to the theaters over a year in advance to measure every doorway, the stage, the curtain, the aisles, everything, to see if their show will fit in it before they even sign contracts. And some theaters actually go and renovate so they will fit, so the show will come. She said Les Mis actually opened the door to that because they were the first ones to do that.
And so that's pretty much what we've been doing this year. We have about 30 pretty regular attenders on our weekly meetings. We were a little scared at the beginning because when we first announced it, 99 kids signed up on the Google Classroom. And we were like, what are we gonna do with 99 kids? But a lot of them decided it wasn't for them, or for whatever reason. We usually get a lot of sixth graders. We've had 80 or 90 kids come out to auditions for the annual play or musical. And it's like one of the few things that sixth graders are not allowed to play sports. And so they look for outlets. And this is one of the things that, you know, they do. And we found some great talent in sixth grade. And sometimes it astonishes the kids because maybe a sixth grader gets a better part than a seventh grader. And, you know, it's all about learning too, to how to deal with not always getting what you want. We talked to Mr. Fritz about that, about how do you deal with disappointment? And he's like, you just keep going, you know, and some of the kids were like, you know, that's a really good philosophy. So we're going to try to do a culminating activity with the kids. And I think the Readers Theater is going to prepare them for that. It's going to be their choice. We're going to do a virtual talent show of sorts and record it so they can share it with their families. And I'm not sure where else we'll share it, but probably you school board members will take a gander at it if you wish. So we'll see how that one works out. But we've been having a great time with the kids, and they're just loving it. They're very animated and very engaged. So I do look forward to getting back into the school, because we only had one production in our new beautiful auditorium, and that was like a dream last year. I gotta say, it was amazing to be there and to have the talent we did, and to have the ability. And I do apologize, because I know Alicia, they worked so hard and they only got to do 2 shows, and we were like, phew, we just got it in under the wire. So that's it. That's us. And there we go.
Well, I don't know about you, Dana, but I'm completely blown away by all of this tonight. I'm so amazed at what all of you do, both pre-COVID, during COVID, and things to come. So thank you on behalf of the board. Thank you so much for all that you do. It's quite amazing. Dana, do you have any questions for drama?
Well, it's just incredible, inspiring. I don't know where to start. My one question, my youngest son was in the Pirates of Penzance when he was in 6th grade. Now he's 32 now. Were any of you involved with that? It was the most amazing production I have ever witnessed.
That was the
And,
year before I was hired at Upper Perk.
It's unbelievable the amount of work and preparation that goes into the four shows, 5 shows that you get to perform. It's just a incredible amount of work, preparation, and I'm blown away every time I get to watch a play. And you ought to do the Pirates of Penzance. It was the greatest play ever. I may be jaded with my opinion, but it was just incredible.
I always played in
So
the
much
pit.
fun.
I always played in the pit orchestra for our musicals and things. And I can remember one of my favorite ones was Once Upon a Mattress. And we had so much fun. Anyway, why digress? But again, thank you. Do any of you have any questions for us at this point? Okay. I want to encourage all of you to reach out to us if there's anything we can do to further support you in any way. You know, as I was listening to the drama advisors and you're, you know, Pam, when you were talking about all the alumni and, you know, Alicia, you were mentioning the alumni. I don't know if we have it, but I think we should have some type of board down at the auditoriums, posting all of our alumni who are doing great things in drama. Sorry?
A wall of fame.
Absolutely. I just think that's fantastic. So something to think about. Maybe we can kind of collaborate on something like that. Well, listen, we've taken up enough of your time, and we can't thank you enough for your wonderful presentations. Please, again, reach out to us if we can help you in any way. Hopefully, we're going to be back to normal soon. And before we go, Tia and Emily, I'm sorry if I missed it, but what grade are you in?
We're both in 10th.
Okay, all right. And do you think this is something when you graduate that you'll, you know, if you go to college, this is something you'll want to stay involved in at the college level?
Yeah, like myself, I'm interested in like education. So I want to do something like Mrs. Austin or Mrs. McGovern is doing right now in just helping the school productions and stuff like that. So that's what I want to stay in.
Fantastic.
I'm currently on the same page as Tia. I'm also looking into an education for teaching, and I would also like to possibly minor in some type of acting or theater.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, to both of you, if there's anything that we can do to support you, oh, please reach out to us. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, guests. Thank you so much. This has been a treat. This has really been a treat. So we wish you well, and good luck with the rest of the school year. And we look forward to seeing you in months to come. Thank you.
Before you click off, if anyone wouldn't mind sharing the presentations with me, that way I can keep them as a part of the record into the minutes. That way, if anyone goes back, they'll see those. If you don't mind sharing them in any form, I'm happy to just send me an email with that or share it's a Google slideshow to do that. So.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We're going to finish the meeting, and then we'll close for tonight. And you are all welcome to leave. We don't want to keep you longer than we need to, but thanks again. Dana, is there any old business we need to attend to?
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
You.
Bet.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, good night.
Any comments, Dana? Any further comments?
Every meeting gets better than the last. It's fantastic.
I know. I'm amazed. I saw that Peter Pan Jr. production last year, and I was floored. So no public tonight, unless Sandy, you want to tell us how far you are in your book? Or you want to talk about your ceiling tile? All right, so motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye. Where was Mike tonight? Did he, did we know?
Yeah, his back is really bothering him, so he's hurting. Yeah, I'll catch up to him, in a couple days. So, all right, everyone. Sandy, you're muted. I can't read your lips.
In the old building, the roof collapsed in my office.
Oh,
I was
see,
in
well,
Yeah.
things are getting better. It's just a ceiling tile. All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
See you at facilities.
Thank you.